Riverbend Awareness Project.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast episode are solely those of the individuals participating and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of Riverbend Media Group or the Riverbend Awareness Project, its affiliates, or its employees. It is important to note that the discussion presented is for informational purposes only and should not be construed as medical advice. Listeners are encouraged to consult with qualified healthcare professionals for any medical concerns or decisions. The Riverbend Awareness Project is a product of Riverbend Media Group.
Okay, so we're kind of covering the spectrum of emergencies. So if we see emergency and no one's there yet, if they're there, how we respond, and then what are the safest way if we are getting pulled over, traffic stop, someone, whatever it's going to be, blinker, speed, whatever. What's the safest way to pull over and then interact with that officer?
Panic. No, just panic.
You know what's interesting?
I think I would panic because I've never been pulled over, so I'm like,
is everybody thinks, oh man, I got to get to the right now, right? Well, the code actually reads to the closest curb.
Yeah.
Right. So if it's safest to go to the left, go to the left. Safest to go to the right, go to the right. We are going to have some discretion as law enforcement in the vehicle to say, hey, this probably is a blind corner. It's not the best place to turn on our overhead lights and make a stop, right?
Yeah.
But there's also those times that we're like, okay, there's a blind corner coming up. I need to turn my lights on now so they have time to pull over before we get to this bad area. What becomes concerning is when we do that and then the person just keeps driving and then stops in a bad situation, right? So just know this, your safety, the safety of the officer is very important. Pull over as far as you can off the roadway. Give as much room as possible. I know a lot of people get concerned because there's passenger side approaches being done, but that's a lot better than the officer standing in the lane of travel and doing those things. And there's going to be times that the officer is going to come up to you and say, hey, I don't feel comfortable, not necessarily in those words, but could we move up to this parking lot or could we go up to this next turnout and we'll conclude our business there, right? And I think the other important thing is, and I think Deputy Lovell would agree with this, is when we're running code, not necessarily are you the one being pulled over, but if we're running code to an emergency and we turn our lights on, the purpose of that is so you would yield to us and so we can get to where we need to get going. I don't know what it is, but a lot of times nowadays, that's just locking people up. Yeah. And they just go 10 and 2. They just maintain their speed.
Yeah. Oh no!
Don't change a thing, and I can see that if they're like I can't, I have nowhere to go, or I don't know where to go. There's cars all around me. At least slow down and stop if you can.
I think my point behind that would be though is this: there's an accelerator in the car and there's a brake in the car.
You can use them.
Yeah. And so when you get two people, 2 lanes, and they're like, oh, we're both locked up and we're both going. What the first thought is he want me or does he want them? And they think they're getting a ticket, right? So, hey, just speed up, slow down. If the other car's doing something funky, get out of the way. 90% of the time they're going by you. If you're getting stopped, you typically know I've broke the law. You know there's a consequence coming, right? But if they're running to an emergency, lights come on, do the best you can. And then that's a good example of when you go to the closest curb, right? So if you're in the left-hand lane, yield to the left. You don't have to get over to the right to yield. Just yield and let the emergency vehicle by.
Yeah.
That could be a fire truck, an ambulance, a police officer.
It might take us a minute to figure out what you're doing, but we're used to taking that time to make sure we're doing that safe in how we're doing that and clearing intersections. But if the lights come on and it's you getting pulled over and you don't want to stop and lane traffic, it's okay to pull in a parking lot or pull off. And
encouraged if there's one.
Yeah, like out of the way is we like that too. And we do get people that are upset, or I get questions once in a while like, well, they waited like 2 miles to pull me over or whatever. Well, where was this? Like, where did it happen? Did they wait 2 miles because we're on the freeway with only 2 lanes of construction and the shoulders closed, and I need to talk to you about something that happened before that or in that, but I got to wait until you are way down here, or it takes me that much speed to catch up to you because you were packing the mail, right? And it's like we don't have to pull you over right exactly where you do that.
The violation occurred.
And the violation, but it might be more about just getting to a safe place so we can have a conversation about safe driving or whatever it is.
I got 2 points that I'd like to make on that. One, first, if you continue driving, just to continue driving, you might find that your tires get flattened.
Yeah.
Because we're only going to give you so much opportunity to stop, and then we're going to use hollow spike system or some other method to stop you, right? And the other thing that's a myth is that, well, if I get home, I'm safe.
Yeah.
Right? So if I'm within a half a mile of my house, I'm just going to keep driving. I'm going to pull in my driveway, and then that's safe, right? That's not the case. And
No, and you're on my property now. Well, it doesn't necessarily work like that.
We see that a lot in DUIs, right? Okay, the lights come on. I'm just going to drive the next 4 blocks to get to my house. And as long as I get to my house and I start towards the front door, I'm going to be safe. No, that's not how it works.
You still violated a law.
Yeah, so we're going to deal with that, and we're going to take care of it.
DUIs that tends to happen, or somebody that knows that they've got something going on they don't want to be caught with or caught doing, and they are, if I don't look at the officer, they can't see me. I'm invisible somehow. Or
if I make it to Walmart, that means I get to go shopping.
Yeah, exactly. And we do run into people that are like, they're in their own world, and we've had the lights on behind them for miles, and they just aren't looking behind them. They just don't see, and
back to that distracted driving.
Yeah. That's
tunnel vision.
Yeah. And so you've got to be paying attention to that stuff. We run into that. We get it. If it happens, it happens. If it looks like you're trying to run from the police and use that as an excuse, we're going to figure that out too.
You will get them stopped somehow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now on another side of this, if you experience car trouble and you might be in a bad spot to stop, what's the safest thing to do? Get a blowout in a construction zone, or your motor blows or something like that.
Well, if your motor blows, your car's just dying, right?
Yeah.
And so if that's the case, turn your hazard lights on. Try to coast as far off as you can. I would say on a blown tire, it's a lot easier to replace a rim than it is to be in a hazardous situation or a very dangerous situation for you and your family. Just continue till you can get pulled off. Now, the thing is, if you slow down, there's enough rubber on that. Typically, your rim's saved anyway. Turn your hazards on. Let everybody know there's an emergency. Drive slowly till there's a safe spot. But if the motor goes, hey, if you can't coast out of the way, first of all, get your hazards on. Exit that vehicle and get to a safe location. If it's a construction zone, there's probably some barricades or some orange cones or something. And then get over and start trying to warn traffic that, hey, there's a hazard ahead. I need you to stop. Please turn your hazards on. Please turn your hazards on. And then at some point, if it is safe, get 2 or 3 burly guys that can push your car out of the way.
Yeah. Call, let somebody know.
Yeah.
So
and 911 again, emergency, to let us know, let us get coming.
I'm stuck in the middle of the road, especially if you're stuck on a railroad track and you just can't get your car to go.
No.
You don't know when the train's coming, how fast they're coming. They don't steer. They don't stop real fast.
No, they don't.
We do things that knee jerk all the time, right? And just yesterday, for a great example, we had a visitor from Utah. I know that comes as a surprise, coming up to recreate in Idaho. And I know it happened.
Oh,
that one. And so he had a really nice new vehicle pulling a camper, and that vehicle broke down right at the off-ramp of I-15 to get on Highway 20. Well, you can imagine the chain reaction. That back traffic up clear around the corner on I-15, right? And we had some secondary crashes on that. Well, I pulled up and I just put a tow rope on him and hooked it to his pickup and his camper, and I pulled him down to the Denny's parking lot to get him out of traffic, because the danger was not right there. The danger was behind us where the traffic was backing up on I-15. So the sooner you can clear that area. And when we talk about quick clearance, that's, once again, if you get involved in a crash, we used to get taught in driver's ed, don't move your cars, right? Make sure law enforcement comes, sees exactly where the cars were when it happens.
If you can safely move it, move it.
Now, what I would tell you on that is all of us have a cell phone in our pocket, right? So what does that mean? We all have a camera. Take a couple of pictures of right where it's at. Check for if there's any injuries. If there's no injuries, both cars are still running. It's just a minor fender bender. Hey, let's take some pictures. We'll drive down here. We'll get off the road. We'll call law enforcement. Now, one thing to think about is, for law enforcement to take a report, it has to be over $1,500 of damage to one vehicle, right? So if each vehicle has a tiny dent, and this one's a $400 dent, and this one's a $1,100 dent, that doesn't make $1,500 on one, right? But What I would say is this: take some quick pictures before you do that. First of all, is there any medical emergencies? Take a couple quick pictures. If both vehicles are running, move them off the roadway to a safe place. Law enforcement will come and meet you there. And if only one car is able to move and still will open up the roadway, take pictures, move what you can, and then we're going to come. And there's been times we got push bumpers on the front of our cars. We're like, hey, we're going to push you into this lot real quick and we'll finish the paperwork up there.
Mhm.
And then we'll call the tow trucks, right? So,
Yeah.
What if you're having like a medical emergency in the vehicle?
Oh, that happens a lot, often.
Sometimes I know
Yeah.
you can't respond because I had a relative who he had like blacked out and went through an intersection, right? He obviously can't respond to that. But I guess the people around him, you got to think about that. And then like, or maybe if you're you can tell something's about to happen or you're going through it, but you still have some kind of response. Like, I'm assuming it's a similar kind of reaction, try and pull over and get help. But
Yeah. Like if you're the one having the emergency,
Yeah.
you're in control of
Mhm.
the car. And if you, if you were recognizing I got this medical thing coming on, whatever it is, start getting off the road and out of the way if you can. We get a lot of DUIs called in, or someone will call in thinking someone that is impaired, and sometimes it's a medical thing that's going on, and we're happy to come and figure that out, right?
Mhm.
And sometimes other people will intervene and help say, oh, this guy's having a heart attack or seizure or something, and help them get off the road and into safety. But it's kind of back to the same thing. If you're stuck in the road in a lane of travel and you can help get you or someone else out of that, and it's easy to do so, do it. If you're not sure, at least get yourself out of the way and leave the cars behind, and start warning other people. But you just need to do your best to kind of get out of the way. Once in a while, we're stopping people that are going way too fast, heading to the hospital or somewhere because them or someone else is having a medical
Mhm.
emergency, and they're sometimes calling 911, and we're trying to sort of meet them or intercept with an ambulance or somebody, right? But driving yourself at those kind of speeds may not necessarily be the quickest, safest thing to do, but you may not know in the moment. They make that decision to go, and typically, we're going to try and intervene and get the medical to them
Mhm.
to start that before and then go to the hospital. But just being smart about that. If you're having, if it's a medical emergency or something happened, you need to be getting out of the way and calling 911 and getting help on the way somehow.
we just had a diabetic situation just last week where a young lady felt it coming on, tried to get off the road, still wasn't down to a speed that she could stop, and went off the road, and people called it in as a one vehicle crash. When we got there, it was just she had a diabetic reaction, and we had to tend to her there with that. But one thing I would like to cover that Deputy Lovell brought up is when you have a medical emergency personally and you're trying to transport them to the hospital, we talked about culpability on crashes, and just because you're having a medical emergency, a loved one doesn't give you a right of way like an ambulance to turn your hazards on and violate laws, right? And so the risk you're taking there is humongous. Please slow down. You can turn your hazards on. You can try to get there a little sooner, but still follow all traffic laws, because if not, now it just complicates the other problems you have, right? And same thing, if we make that stop, because we'll get a call that, hey, these people are driving erratically, we don't know what's going on. We'll find out they're trying to get to the hospital. And what we do is we stop, we render first aid right there. But we, exactly like Brian Lovell says, we try to get medical emergencies to us right there and resolve that risk, right?
If for the most part, if you're anywhere remotely close to populated areas, I mean, they're going to get there in time, right?
Mhm.
The further away you get from population, the more difficult that might be. But our law enforcement resources that are used to working up in the backcountry, they're all EMTs, and we have a lot of partner entities out there that are also EMTs and firefighters, and so as communities grow, those resources kind of get there. You're never gonna, you can't 100% guarantee you're gonna have something there and available right then, because they do get busy. All of our ambulances get busy, but But that would be the goal, is let somebody know. So even if you're trying to travel closer to where the hospital or wherever that ambulance is going to be, coordinate so we can get them heading your way. In case what if you run out of gas and you can't make it there? And we definitely don't want you to compromise your safety or more people's safety in the name of what it is. Because a lot of times that emergency isn't going to get better or worse depending on if you go faster. It's going to stay the same level of emergency, whether you're going the speed limit and driving safely or if you're stopped, versus if you're speeding, you're not going to get the right help.
It goes back to how much is speeding up going to get you there quicker.
Yeah. It's a difference that makes a difference, basically, most of the time. But
wildlife collisions. We've got them here. We've got some wildlife out in the area.
Yeah.
What's the safest thing to do if
Don't
an
pet a
animal
buffalo.
jumps out in front of your car?
Don't hit a buffalo.
don't pet the buffalo. It's the safest thing to do.
Oh man, I've really been trying to do that.
We have no buffalo that I know of. Maybe there's some domestic ones in
Yeah,
it.
some out in Yukon.
Yeah, that's right. And some camels, but typically they're not like wild
Camels?
and in the road. And
There's camels on
Hammond
Road, right?
43, on North Yellowstone there, north of Beach's Corner there. So,
You live
but they're mean.
large.
These are mean camels. Like, don't go approach them. They will bite your face clean off. They're in that past. They're domestic
Bite your
animals. They go out. They're petting zoo camels.
my
and
goodness.
Well,
buffalo.
they've got buffalo
yeah.
there too.
I think he's got a handful.
He's
of
got
them
an
there.
albino
Yeah.
buffalo.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
I think the most important thing to know when it comes to wildlife is don't overreact, right? Immediately try to take action, but don't let that action be jerk the wheel to the right or the left, because what we see is a lot of times that's an overreaction and then the car rolls and it becomes more of a problem, right? You do want to immediately, we talked about time and distance and speed, and that's why it's important to drive the speed limit, and there'll be signs up that say wildlife crossing and different things like that, but immediately react by trying to get on the brakes. Know that most vehicles have anti-lock brakes, so you still have steering input. But if for whatever reason your brakes lock up, you no longer have steering input. You're just going to slide straight forward at whatever rate you're headed, right? And so if that happens, let off your brakes just a little bit so you can have some steering input. But it is obviously more dangerous if you're on a 2-lane to swerve into the other lane of traffic. It's more dangerous to swerve off the road because you don't know what the shoulder's like. And so try to take some kind of reaction, but don't overreact, if that makes any sense.
It does.
Yeah.
Safe path to go, right? If it's, I like dogs. I don't want to run over dogs. But if it's run over the dog or head into the semi or off into the river, you might have to run over the dog.
Same with the squirrel.
Sad, or the squirrel or pigeon or whatever. Pigeons. I don't want to get pigeon people mad at me. But
Maddie loves pigeons, so she has a pigeon tattoo.
They're more annoying birds than pigeons.
Not by much.
I think livestock too. Like, I mean, it's the same thing, right? Like if you see a cow in the middle of the road, hopefully you saw the cow. But if it's like the middle of the night and it's a black cow, you might not. But
your best chance is to make sure you're driving as far out as you can see as possible.
I think it's what's important to know there too, is especially with Bonneville County and these county agencies, is a lot of our state is open range, right? So if you hit a cow, you just bought a bunch of hamburger.
Yep.
Yes, you did.
You're responsible to not hit things and that could be in the road, right?
go the speed limit and look out.
There's a ton of open range. There's a lot of, well, I don't know if it might have changed. I haven't looked for a while. For the longest time, let's go back. Let's talk about history now. The police department now in the middle of Idaho Falls is where the old stockyards were, and there used to be a big wide swath of ground that was open range, that north up through Louisville and up there, and that was all open range for decades because that's where the cattle drive went, down to the stockyards and sold the cows. And that hasn't happened for 50 or more years or something. And, roads and things have been built and neighborhoods and subdivisions and all that. And look at that.
I think that one great guy.
That one great guy calling me on the phone. Not the one guy that's not a phone scam to me today. But anyway, over time, somebody noticed, and I think that's probably changed, but still, and everybody fenced their animals in, but still, still, just because there's fences and farms there doesn't mean there might not be something in the road. Animals get out, all that stuff.
Cows do get out of pastures.
Horses, they hurt when they hit, and your best chance is to make sure you're obeying the speed limit, not overdriving your headlights in the dark. You're watching as far down the road as you can.
So we kind of talked about one law already that's changed, but are there any other recent laws that we should know about? Changes?
Traffic law, I got to think.
The semi one's the big
Yeah.
one. The other thing that really affects individuals, I think, as far as state law change, is that as of July 1st, no longer required to put a sticker on your plate.
Mhm.
Right? Now, does that mean law enforcement will never be able to tell whether you registered your vehicle or not? No, it means we have to take one more step.
Yeah.
Right. And so we'd have to run that plate and it'll come back whether it's
Yeah.
expired or not expired. And the other thing is, let's be honest, how many times did we find that out from another infraction, right? So you were stopped for speeding or you were stopped for another reason, then we found out your registration was expired. So, there's still a risk there of not registering your vehicle.
Just
So-
do it. It's a lot easier.
And I
we
like
remember-
driving on good roads.
Yeah. Remember, I think usually ITD is pretty good about sending out reminder cards as long as your address is correct. And you're required to update that information as well. So
You can do it all online now.
I
It's
did
so
that
nice.
recently.
Yeah,
It wasn't
it's-
that hard
it's
to
pretty
change your
slick.
address.
It's not too bad at all. So.
Unless you're getting a title, they won't let you do that yet.
Yeah, still got to go and visit the local county motor vehicles over there.
I was just
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
I went right after the 4th of July, and that was not the best time to do it.
Yeah.
They'd just been closed for a few extra days. People in line were a little upset about it.
Yeah. Yeah, those county people working on systems that are at the state level, and when that closes, it backs them up. There's only so much they can do, but they catch up. They'll be open again eventually. So
They were. If you could bust one major myth about traffic stops or traffic laws that the general public widely believes, what would it be?
the first one that comes to mind is 1 mile over the speed limit is still over the speed limit. Different officers, deputies, troopers, they have their limits of their discretion of what they're going to write a ticket for. Like for me, it depends on where we're at. I might be a little more prone to write a ticket in a school zone during the school year than my limits on what I would give a warning for might be higher in other areas. But it's different for everybody, right? And still 1 mile an hour over the speed limit is against the law.
Mm-hmm.
There's a myth in there that, you can have 5 or you can have this, that. It can't work that way. If you don't have a line, if that line is blurred, then where's really the line, right? The line is the line. So if the county road that's 50 miles per hour, if someone wants to say, well, you can go 5 mile an hour over that, then why don't we set the speed limit at 45, right? So it's silly to think of it that way. Typically, there's a lot of things that come into play on radar and speed and all of that stuff. So typically, you're not going to see a lot of people getting a ticket for 1 mile an hour over. It happens. It probably happens. And you might get a warning in this range versus, a conversation or versus a ticket. But I think that there's that myth there, and associated with that is that we have some sort of quota or something like that, and we don't. Like we get paid the same whether we write no tickets or one ticket.
There's no quota.
No, there's no quota at all. Like we don't get any of that money. It goes to different things. In incorporated cities, some of that fine money goes into their incorporated cities, but it doesn't go directly to the officer. It doesn't go directly to the agency. There's myths in there about that of the end of the month and the first of the month. And, I don't know, maybe it seems to resurface and common sense sort of takes over and goes, no, it's been a myth long enough that everybody's like, that's a myth, but still some people kind of buy into it, I think. And it's not there. If we have an area where there's a speeding problem, a school zone or a road where the speed limit's changed, or we've just added 4-way stop from a 2, and we're going to do some emphasis there for a particular reason. We're there because something's changed or there's a safety hazard or something like that. We're not there for our health. We're not there for, because we have nothing to do. We all of us in this job, we have a lot going on. And so we're trying, if we're working those areas, it's because we're trying to keep people safe and educate people there or whatever. So if someone wants to take and bring that myth into it, then to me, those kind of join each other a little bit. But that's the first myth that comes to the top of my head right there.
Yeah.
I love what he said there about quotas. State police doesn't have any quotas either. And second of all is a financial gain. We don't get any money off any citations we write, so we're not doing it for financial gain. We're doing it for the safety of the public. And so just a couple of fun ones I'll throw out there is it's illegal to drive barefoot or with flip-flops.
Yeah.
I hear that often. And then the other one.
it's not illegal to drive barefoot with flip-flops.
Yeah, you can drive barefoot if you want.
I didn't think that was a thing, but I was like, that would be uncomfortable.
That's why I don't do it.
That would be uncomfortable.
I just don't have the toes for it. But anyway, and then the other one is with headphones on, right? You can't drive with headphones on. There's no law saying you can't do that either. Now, what becomes a law is if you're doing it and it's distracting you and you're driving all over the road. Now it's distracted driving, which we're talking about. And the other interesting thing is just before we started this, one of your peers hit me up exactly with what Brian started on this question with is, well, 2 to 5 miles an hour over the speed limit's fine, right? And that was as we were getting ready to start. Now, Brian answered that great. We all have discretion. And in Idaho, we have a maximum speed limit law. So the maximum speed limit is what's posted in the black and white sign. Now the question becomes, I get a lot of times is, what about the orange and black sign that says cautionary speed at this curve or at this area? Well, that's to say, hey, you really ought to be at this speed for safety, but it's not enforceable unless it's black and white. And the other thing is, when it comes to discretion, we would not be very acceptive. It's the Idaho State Police if we knew somebody was getting a citation for 1-2 miles an hour over the speed limit. That doesn't mean you won't get stopped for that. There's times that we may want to talk to you about something, and we need a reason to do that. And anytime you break the law, that's a reason. So if you're breaking the law at 2 miles an hour over the speed limit, that's a reason we can talk to you. But that doesn't mean you're getting a citation. That's when discretionary comes in per officer.
I think what gets unnoticed is, and I don't know the ratio between stops that have warnings and stops that result in tickets. I would guess that more of those result in warnings and less tickets, right?
Absolutely.
But it's to say I haven't wrote a ticket for a long time. My job isn't to be out writing tickets in a marked car, but I do make traffic stops and say, hey, I don't want you to get a ticket for this and crash your nice car. So please stay in the right lane when you're going through the roundabout. Please don't go get in such a hurry. And we have those educational conversations a whole lot more than tickets go out. But there's times where it's like, I just can't let this go. I can give you a warning this much, or I can give you a warning on this, but we're going to learn with a citation here. If we go back and check and it looks like you haven't learned because you keep getting citations for this same thing, then eventually, that doesn't earn you a warning necessarily, and not every officer is going to check that every time. But the reason for that is because is something unsafe going on. And so hopefully you have a conversation about that, and hopefully you do better. Everybody gets lax on stuff, but don't get surprised if you do get stopped, because 1 mile an hour over, 2 mile an hour over is over the limit. If you're 1 day expired on your registration, you're expired. You have to have a line there somewhere.
I'll share a quick, less than 12-hour expiration on a registration. I was back patrolling in my days, and a guy's reaction to me was unusual, right? So I turned on him, and I'm like, I need to talk to this guy. He is pretty concerned about me being in the area, and I couldn't find a reason to stop him, and I run the registration, find out it expired at midnight. and it's like 9 a.m. in the morning. So 9 hours expired. So I stop him and education, right? As Deputy Lovell said, I wanted to explain to him that, hey, even I have let my registration expire and I didn't realize it. So just wanted to come up here and let you know it's easy to do, but your registration's expired. If you get a chance, go down and get your registration renewed. Come to find out that he had felony warrants for double homicide and drug trafficking charges.
Oh,
And that's why his reaction to me was what it was.
Whoa.
So that's why I stopped him on a minor violation, right? So we do that all the time where we stop for a minor violation, but we make a good arrest or we make a good educational stop. So
And it might be by pure luck, or it might be something got our attention.
yeah,
Something got our attention that's
not quite right
this
here.
this is out of place.
Mhm.
This is suspicious. This is weird. We should investigate. And sometimes it's suspicious and weird enough and out of place enough that we just stop to make contact with it. It doesn't take an infraction or a reason to necessarily do it. It could be just because you just do not look like you belong and you are acting in a way that we need to come and have a conversation. Does that mean everybody's going to go to jail or everybody's doing something wrong? No. Like if you're not doing anything wrong, you're not doing anything wrong, and we'll high five and fist bump and say, you have a great day and be safe or whatever, but that's our job. And our function in the community is to be proactive in that way. And so all of us, that's in our profession, we're trying to be proactive and make sure there's not a safety concern. Make sure if we can intervene before a crime, right? If we can intervene before someone decides to make a bad decision, that's a good thing.
Mhm.
If we can intervene before a guy that's obviously too intoxicated to drive, if we can go and get in the way before they get an actual physical control of a vehicle, that's better than having them risk going out and crashing into somebody, right? We're not going to catch everybody all the time, but we're going to try to be as proactive, and our community by and large is pretty proactive in that way because they call and report things. They report suspicious activity. They make Crime Stoppers tips. They call in and say, I think this car ahead of me is DUI, and they're the best witness they can be until we can hopefully get there and intervene. We can't always do that because we have to prioritize too. We can't put the violent things on hold. We don't take it in order that it comes. Sometimes you have to stack that and say this injury crash that is plugged up I-15 and involves 10 cars and multiple ambulances is more important than people are speeding in your neighborhood at the moment, right? And we'll get to it,
Just might not
fast
be
as we
right when
can,
they want it
but,
to happen.
priorities, and that's how we work the most effective and most efficiently.
So there will be, what good habits, if you could be like, you get this good habit now that you're driving, like instill it into someone, what would be the good habits?
The good habit award.
Yes.
Seatbelt is one. A lot of cars like force you to do that, or it's going to ding and yell at and scream
the
at you
lovely
until you put
ding.
it on. If you do that and not bypass it and always wear your seatbelt, that's such a good thing. Someone told me the other day they had a newer vehicle that won't even go into gear until the thing recognizes the seatbelt's clicked
Oh,
in,
wow.
right? And that's a safety thing, and it's there for a reason. It's important. Seatbelts are if we're talking traffic safety, seatbelts and oh my gosh, good habits of just obeying traffic laws and traffic control devices and not getting in too big of a hurry. And that's a little bit loaded right there, but it starts with the seatbelt as soon as you get behind the wheel, right? And it's good habit. It's just, if you can make that habit and it's automatic and you instill that in your kids and so on, we still have fatalities and still have bad crashes as a result of other things maybe, but that at least at the very beginning is you're lowering a ton of risk right there of being seriously injured or killed.
I think what I'd like to add to that is add into that defensive driving, right? Drive for everybody on the road, not just you. And make sure your vehicle's roadworthy. And I think that's more important in winter driving conditions. I can't tell you how many crashes we go to where I can actually see the air in the tires. And they're like, I don't know why I slid off the road.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know why I don't got any traction.
Oh, no.
All these metal cords hanging out.
Oh, no.
Weird.
But just make sure your equipment's in good working order. That's one thing I try to teach my kids is, when you go out to your vehicle, take a quick glance at it, right? Know if your tail lights are working. Know if your blinkers are working. Know if you got a low tire on one side. Know these things. Know if your headlight's burned out. Be a defensive driver. And especially in the wintertime, prepare yourself that if it does go down, even in the summertime, right? Have some water. Have some emergency things that can help you if you need it. But develop those good habits.
I've told my kids, and I told a lot of teens in our teen camp and other people, we talk about, you think about when you're driving and defensive driving, you have 4 patches of tire holding your butt to the earth, right? With gravity. And the faster you go, that tire patch gets smaller and it can get down to thumbprint wide, right? And sorry, phone's ringing. But it can get down to thumbprint wide. And if you think about everybody else on the road, you have these traffic control devices and lanes and rules everybody follows. And you have those patches you're controlling, and you have to trust that everybody else is in control of their 4 tire patches. And you have to trust that they're not just going to up and come into your lane, or they're just going to, I'm done driving at 100 mile an hour and go wherever I go, right? You have to wrap around your head. You're putting a lot of trust in the rest of the world to not be in your space. And they're putting all that trust in you to not be in their space as well. So driving defensively and keeping control of just those 4 patches on the road and pay attention to your conditions, your vehicle condition, all that is going to help you navigate that when you lose trust in someone else, or they aren't paying attention, they're driving aggressively, or they lose control of their 4 patches of tire on the road.